Dear students, from the last few classes we are discussing examples of vector spaces over R. Today we are going to explore some more examples. So let us begin. So the first example that we are going to discuss today is the set of functions from x to R. What is x? What is R? Now you are already familiar with the set R. So the question is, what is set x? So set x is any non-empty set. Remember that it should be a non-empty set. So given a non-empty set, consider all the functions from that non-empty set x to R and put this all functions in one set, just how we have done here, and we are calling that set as f of x R. Then this set is going to be a vector space over R, and this set is called as set of all real valued functions. Now why it is called as real valued functions on the set x? Because the domain is x, thus on the set x. Now what do you mean by real valued functions? The values of the functions are real. I mean, you can see that the codomain over here is R, and therefore it is called as real valued functions. So whatever all these functions are there, they are in one set. Now what is the meaning of this? Let us explore it with the help of a few examples. So let us fix one set. So I will take my capital X to be, let us say, closed interval 0 to 1. So the meaning of this is our set in this case is going to be, the notation is going to be f of closed interval 0 to 1 to R. So this set is going to contain all the functions from this closed interval 0 to 1 to R. Now you will say, how many functions are there from this set to R? Actually there are infinitely many functions. Now let me tell you a few examples of the functions. We can have anything actually. So like f of x is equal to x square, or f of x is equal to sin x, even cos x, even we can have f of x is equal to 2x plus 1, and so on. There are infinitely many functions. Even you can have constant functions as well, like f of x is equal to 1 or 0 or half, whatever value you like you can put there. I mean, there are infinitely many choices. But the next question is, in order to show that it is a vector space, we need addition and scalar multiplication. So how to define it? And obviously, what is your choice? If f of x is x square, g of x is sin x, then how you are going to define the addition, right? So you are going to define the addition naturally by x square plus sin x. That is how you are going to add two functions, and that is exactly what we are doing. So whatever this addition of functions is there, we are calling it as f plus g, as you can see here. And how we are defining it? F plus g of x is equal to, now x square is nothing but what? It is f of x. So f of x plus, and sin x is nothing but what? G of x. So thus our addition of the functions is defined as f plus g of x is equal to f of x plus g of x. Now what about the scalar multiplication? I mean, suppose you are having some real number, let us say 10. So if you multiply this 10 by to f, let us say, so I mean you have to define 10f. So how you are going to define 10f? So the natural choice is you will think of 10x square, isn't it? So that is how we are going to define the scalar multiplication. So this is equal to 10x square. So this 10 as it is, but x square is nothing but what? F of x. Thus we have defined alpha, our 10 is nothing but alpha, right? We have just taken particular value of alpha and particular value of f over here. So we can generalize this idea, right? So we have defined it as alpha f of x is equal to alpha multiplied by f of x, as you can see here. So with respect to this addition and scalar multiplication, one can easily show that this is a vector space over R. So you have to verify all that 8 properties. Now proving properties is not that much difficult. But I would like to talk on third property and fourth property, because that is where the students make mistake. So let us discuss it out. So what is our P3 property? Our P3 property is nothing but existence of identity. So in our case, our vector space is nothing but a set of functions from x to r, where x is some non-empty set. So what we are interested in, so given a function from x to r, so what I want is, according to the third property, there should exist a 0 bar belonging to v, such that u plus 0 bar should be equal to u for all elements u in v. So in our case, let us try to take a particular example. For example, if I take f of x is equal to x square, so what I want is, which function should be added in this f of x so that we will get the same function back. That is what our interest is. And you will wonder that here f of x is nothing but x square. So in other words, I am asking you that what should be added in x square so that I will get the function x square back. And definitely you might have got the answer, and the answer is nothing but what? 0. So if you add a 0 in each and every element, obviously, of x square, then we are going to get x square back. Now what do I mean by each and every element? I mean, since it is a function, the value of x can be anything, like it may be 1, 2, 3, anything. Whenever it is 1, it will be 1 square here. Whenever it is 2, it will be 2 square. But you can see that which element you should add in 1 square so that you will get 1 square back, it is 0. Similarly, 2 square madhe, if you add 0, then and then only you will get 2 square, right? So this is how it goes. So what will be our 0 vector in this case? So our 0 vector is nothing but a 0 function, I mean a constant function, okay? And we are going to denote it by 0 bar of x. So our 0 bar will be a function from x to r, and how it is defined? 0 of x is equal to 0 for all x belonging to x, because that is how we define a function, right? So all the elements of this domain are mapped to what? 0. This is nothing but our 0 vector. So you can write it in your own words. So how we can write it? There exists 0 bar which is equal to 0 bar belonging to f of xr, and what exactly it is, you can write in the bracket. It is nothing but what? 0 bar of x is equal to 0 for all x belonging to x, such that this 0 bar plus f is equal to f for all f belonging to this f of xr. In this way, this P3 property is done. Now the question is about the P4 property, and that also I would like to talk about. So now next question is fourth one. So what it says actually, so for each u belonging to v, there exists, means we should be able to find minus u belongs to v such that u plus minus u should be 0 bar, the vector, right? So in this case, for each f belonging to f of xr, okay, so what is our function, right? I mean, a question is simple here. If you are having a function f of x is equal to x square, so after adding which function to f of x, we are going to get our 0 function back. Now you already know how this 0 function is defined. So in other words, after adding which function in x square, we will get 0. That is an indirect question that I am asking, and if you see it properly, it is nothing but what? Minus x square. So and how is this minus x square function actually? It is nothing but like this, right? F of x is equal to minus x square. This is defined for all x belonging to x. So if this is our function, then our additive inverse is given in this way. but naturally the notation I will use, that is minus f of x, because actually what we are doing, we are multiplying this function by minus sign. So this is the notation that we are going to use. So actually I hope you got now the additive inverse. I mean, suppose your function is, let us say, some x cube, then your inverse will be what? Minus x cube, and we are going to call it as minus f. So if your f is sin x, then your minus f is going to be minus sin x. So, and in general, if your function is f of x, then your inverse is going to be what? Minus of f of x. Is that clear? So I will write here then. So for each f belonging to f of x r, there exists minus f belonging to f of x r. Now what is this minus f? Let me tell you. So minus f is actually nothing but what? Minus of f of x, such that f plus minus f will be equal to our 0 function, that is nothing but 0 bar. Now moving towards next example. So this is nothing but set of sequences. Now you are already familiar with what exactly the set of sequences are, and here we are going to focus on the real sequences. Now again you will say, what do you mean by real sequence? So real sequence means a sequence whose values are real. Now what do you mean by real sequence? Just let me give you an example. For example, 1 half, 1 upon 3, 1 upon 4 and so on. This is an example of a real sequence, and you are denoting it by 1 upon n. So in other words, those sequences which doesn't have the complex values, I mean I, the number I should not be in picture. Okay, other than that, all the sequences are real, and this set of all real sequences forms a vector space over R with respect to addition and scalar multiplication defined in this way. Now understanding addition and scalar multiplication is not that much difficult. Suppose this is one sequence, and let us say the other sequence is 1 minus 1, 1 minus 1 and so on. You are calling it as which sequence? Alternating sequence. So how you are adding them? Like simply add the first terms. So 1 plus 1, 2, then half minus 1, whatever the answer is, then 1 upon 3 plus 1, then 1 upon 4 minus 1 and so on. This is how we are defining the addition. Okay, so xn, sequence xn plus sequence yn, that is nothing but a sequence only, just we are adding the corresponding terms of the sequences. Now next is how the scalar multiplication is defined. Suppose you have to multiply the sequence by a certain number, let us say alpha, then how you are defining it? Suppose I have to multiply this sequence by 2, so then how you will do it? Like 2, that is our natural thinking, right? 2, 1, 2 upon 3, 2 upon 4 and so on, and that is exactly what we are doing here. So we are multiplying each and every element of a sequence by alpha. So this is how we have defined the scalar multiplication. So in terms of notations, it will be like this, right? If this is our sequence xn, then 2 times xn will be what? We will multiply each element of the sequence by 2. This is how we will define it, and that is exactly what we have done here. So in order to prove that it is a vector space, we have to again prove all that 8 properties, but I am not going to do it, I leave it to them. So I would like to talk about the 2 important properties, that is P3 and P4, because that is where students make the mistake. So let us see that properties. So again the question is, taken any real sequences, as we have studied lot of examples. So take your own sequence in your mind, let me call it as some xn. So the question is, after adding which sequence we will get the same sequence back, and obviously the sequence that will come in your mind is the 0 sequence. Now what do I mean by 0 sequence? Let us denote it by somewhat like this. So 0 sequence means each and every term of the sequence is 0 over here, means 0 0 0, and it is a constant sequence, right? So that was pretty easy. So how can we write it? So P3, so there exists 0 bar which is equal to like this, belonging to S, such that what will happen, this xn plus this 0 bar will be equal to xn. You can write it like this, or if you write it other way around, still it is fine, like 0 bar plus sequence xn is equal to sequence xn, still that is fine. Now what I have written here, yeah, and writing this is not necessary if we have taken the elements initially, because while proving the 8 properties we are saying initially that let f, g and h, I mean we need 3 elements of our set that we have to prove vector space, and we need 2 scalars, that is alpha and beta. So thus I will not write anything here. Yeah. Now moving towards P4, so for each sequence xn belonging to S, there exist. Can you guess the sequence now? I mean suppose you are having the sequence 1 minus 1, or let us say 1 minus 1, yeah, 1 minus 1 and so on. So after adding which sequence to this sequence we will get a 0 sequence. Now we have already understood the addition, so the natural choice is minus 1 1, minus 1 1 and so on, am I right? So simply what I am doing is I am multiplying this sequence by a minus sign. So thus for each xn belonging to S, there exists what, minus xn belonging to S, such that, I hope you understood what that minus xn is. Actually we are multiplying each and every element of the sequence by a minus sign, such that xn plus minus xn, let me give a square bracket, minus xn is equal to our 0 bar. So this is about the P4 property. So rest of the properties I leave it to you. Now moving towards the next example. So this is denoted by R of x, and you are going to come across this set many times in future, I mean in third year, because this is a set which we are going to see in a separate unit, means there is one unit altogether dedicated for this set only. So what does R of x stands for? So it's simple. Whenever you come across such notation, it means it is set of polynomials. Now the question is why we are having R over here? The answer is simple, because the coefficients of the polynomial are from R, the set of real numbers. If you write z of x over here, then the coefficients of the polynomials will be from set of integers. Similarly, if I write q of x, then the coefficients of the polynomials will be from set of rational numbers. So this is the meaning, and let me give you examples of what do you mean by coefficients, right? Some of you might think, array, what is a coefficient? Let me tell you, suppose our polynomial is 2x square plus 3x plus 5. So coefficients means what? This 2, 3 and 5 are called as coefficients of polynomial. So if these all the coefficients are from z, then we say that this is a polynomial from z of x. I mean this belongs to z of x. Now in this case all of them are integers, so they will be this polynomial will belong to z of x. In fact, this is a polynomial from R of x also, because all of them are real numbers as well. But if I write 1 upon 5 here, then this polynomial will not be from z of x, because the coefficients are not integers. I mean all the coefficients are not integers, but definitely all the coefficients are real numbers. So this is a polynomial from R of x definitely. Now this set is a vector space over R with respect to this addition and scalar multiplication defined here. So how is the addition defined? So just we are adding the corresponding terms of the polynomials. So if we are having two polynomials, let us say f of x and g of x, so how the addition is defined? So first term and first term, simply add them. So a naught plus b naught, then add the coefficients of x, so a1 plus b1 x, and continue in this way, and this process is going to stop somewhere. And I have said here, suppose it stops at, let us say, kth term, then in fact it is a k plus 1th term, then I am denoting it as some ak plus bk x raised to k. Now let me show you through an example what we are doing exactly. Suppose my one polynomial is x plus 1 and my another polynomial is 2x square plus 3x plus 1 upon 5. So how I am adding them? So f of x plus g of x is equal to, so add the constant terms, so 1 plus 1 upon 5, let us say, so whatever the value comes will come here, plus the coefficients of x will be added, so that will be 4x, and finally this 2x square, because this polynomial does not contain 2x square at all, so it will be 2x square. And this is how we can add two polynomials. Now the question is, what about the scalar multiplication of a polynomial? Answer is simple. So what will be my 2 multiplied by f of x? Just we are going to multiply each and every term of a polynomial by 2, right? So we are going to define it as 2x plus 2. Am I right? So that is what I have done here. So this is our polynomial f of x. So alpha multiplied by f of x will be what? To each and every term I am going to multiply this alpha. Thus it will be alpha a naught plus alpha a1 x and so on, alpha a n x raised to n. So with respect to this addition and scalar multiplication, this R of x will be a vector space over R. Now proving 8 properties is little bit tricky here. So maybe I will give you a proof of it later on, but we have to understand that what is a zero polynomial, I mean what is the zero vector of this vector space, and what about the additive inverse.